Changing out a track rod end on a Skoda Fabia Mark 1, 99 to 2007. How easy can it be? Well, you hear lots of stories of how easy these are to change out, and yes, they can be, but they can also be a bit of a pig, depending on which bit's seized or which nuts have seized. But first things first, you want to find some level firm ground, loosen the wheel nuts, and then jack up the car, put it on axle stands, or in this case one stand. Take the wheel off, put that under the body for extra security, and now we can have a look at the offending part. This one's been left quite a while, and as you can see it's quite rusty, so it may prove difficult to get off. We'll just have to see. The nut on the ball joint is about 19mm I think, with a 5mm hex to hold the pin, so that'll need all cleaning out. The nut on the track rod shaft is 22mm, and there'll be flats on the track rod end next to the locking nut, and there'll also be flats on the track rod arm, which are 30mm. But as you can see, it's all a bit corroded, and if we look down at the rubber gaiter, it's perished and split on the inside. You can often miss this because the disc and the dust guard is in the way. You can see the corrosion has just expanded all the joint and the rubber's corroded. I wonder if this is original to the car. It could be. That'll make it over 20 years old. That's not bad going. First thing you need to do is put some penetrating fluid on it. Right, I left that for 10 minutes, now I'm going to wire brush it. So you need to thoroughly clean around where the threads and the nuts are. Now that's done, back to the penetrating fluid again. And leave it overnight. Right, I want to clean out the track rod end pin where the 5mm Allen key goes in. This might take some time if it's corroded. It needs to fit nicely secure, because if you need it, you might not need it. The nut might just come off anyway, but if you do, you don't want this to round off. Otherwise you'll have to cut the whole nut off. So you put your ring spanner on and then your Allen key and loosen it off. That's coming off nicely, no bother. So that'll come off quite easily now, so I'll take that off. Right, try and undo the locking nut. Seems a bit stiff. Right, I'm going to use a hammer and knock it loose. I think it's moved a little bit. The track rod ends has come out. Oh, that's saved me a job, at least. If you're struggling with yours, you'll need a tool to get it off. This is a tool that I use, and it'll release the most stubborn of pins. These are quite beefy and ideal. I'll leave a link in the description. See if it'll come off. That's a bit tight. I'll stick it back in the hub arm and try again. Right, it's moving. It's come out again. I'll put the nut on for a minute. So I broke it loose from the track rod end itself, but ideally I want it loose on the track rod arm because I didn't want to have to replace that as well. So I'll put a 13mm spanner on the tracking arm to hold it in position and try and move the locking nut up the shaft. So I tried different ways of doing this, with my spanner up against the drive shaft. Tried cleaning the threads a bit more, then I found the spanner was rotating around the shaft. So I put some mole grips on, and that wasn't effective either. Now I could use some heat on the nut to expand it, and try it that way, but to be honest, because it's sort of broken loose from the track rod end itself, I think I'll just leave it as it is and just replace the track rod end and leave the inner rod for another day. And as the nut isn't moving, it should be in the same place or thereabouts. Take this off now. If the tracking is out, which I'll be able to tell driving it on the road, then I'll have to get the inner rod part as well, which is a little bit more fiddly, as the nut is only accessible from the end, and that's behind the inner gator that you have to take off as well. Just have a look at the old track rod now. On first inspections you wouldn't think there's anything wrong with this, and from this side it looks all perfect. It's just when you turn around you can see a little slit which you could easily miss, hidden, as I said, by the disc and dust guard. But ta-da! Playing my piano, as you can see, a big gaping hole, and of course all the dust and grit will go into that now and cause excessive wear, even to the point where it could be dangerous, easily missed. So we'll have a look at the new one now, and I'd recommend you only buy some decent quality ones. This is a Fabia Bilstein one. Here's the part number, and here's the unit. Comes with a new locking nut. They always have these plastic protectors on to protect the rubber before you put it on. Then you want to check it against the old one, see if it's the same, which it is. It's the same length as well, so I shouldn't have any bother with that. Just simply screw it back on. When it meets up to the nut, it's just slightly off, so I'll back it back to vertical, so there's just a little bit to tighten up, which may not be noticeable, but I bet it is. Just my luck, I'll be pulling left into the bushes. Insert it into the hub arm, hold it up and put the nut on. Right, screw that on. Now this pin's got a 30mm Torx fit in. Tighten that up. And then tighten the locking nut up on the back of the track rod arm. You only need to tighten it a little bit to nip it up, only about 0.3 of a millimetre, but by turning the inner rod you might have twisted the gator, which I did a little bit, so you just grab hold of it and turn it, twist it back. Unfortunately I didn't take any footage of that. Whether that 0.3 of a millimetre will make a difference to the tracking, only time will tell. Now go and get your torque wrench and tighten the nuts to the correct torque, which I'll leave in the description. And the job's done. Just got to put the wheel back on now. Remove my Auntie Mildred's rug and finish tightening the wheel bolts. I have to get this car MOT'd now. It's about time. I still might have to replace the inner tie rods, but I'll see how it drives before I do that. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate everybody that's supporting the channel. So stay tuned and I'll see you all on the next video.